Welcome to day 9 of our school year. All right. Our total year has 180 days. Since that's the total, that's our denominator. Our numerator is the day we're on. We're on day 9. Okay, so now we're going to find the factors of our numerator. So that is 9. Two factors we always know are 1 and the number itself. And then using the commutative property of multiplication, I can do 9 times 1. Now we're going to go through our divisibility rules in an orderly fashion. So after 1, we try 2. The rule for 2 is that it ends in an even number. 9 is odd, so 2 is not a factor. And when 2 is not a factor, no even number will be, because 2 has to work for any even number to be a factor. So we just have to try our odd numbers. So after 1 and 2, we try 3. 3, 6, 9. Yes, 3 is a factor. 3 times 3. There are no counting or natural numbers between 3 and 3. When both of the factors are the same, we call that a perfect square, because we can make a perfect square. Let's go ahead and list these from least to greatest. 1, 3, 9. We have 3 factors. That is more than 2 factors. Prime is exactly 2. Composite's more than 2. So it is composite. And now we're going to try to figure out what is our greatest common factor between 9 and 180. So let's start with our largest factor, which is 9, and try that first. Okay. Remember, your groups do not have to look like mine. Just make sure there's 9 in each group. And make sure your shaded are separate from your unshaded. Now, this is why 9 is called a perfect square, similar to 4, because 3 times 3 makes a square. Go ahead and make your groups of 9. And it worked. I have no squares left over. Every square is in a group of 9. So that means 9 is my greatest common factor. Okay, now let's count up our total groups of 9. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And how many groups of 9 are shaded in? There's only 1. Now this is actually a special number because I can change this into what's called a percent. Cent, whenever you see that, means 100. So per 100, that's why our money, they're called cents. It's not really called a penny, that's just a nickname. Its name is 1 cent because cent means there's 100 of them to make $1. I can turn this into a 100 by multiplying by 5. 20 times 5 is 100. 1 times 5 is 5. So that means today, as a decimal, we would write it as 5/100, but it's also 5 per cent, 5 per 100, or through 100. We've completed 5% of the school year. We have 95% left. Okay, we did our division with our model. Now we're going to do it with our algorithm, dividing both by our greatest common factor. I'm going to start with 9 times 10 is 90. Numbers the same, 0 is the game. And then this is just 18 take away 9, which is 9. 10 times 9 is 90. Numbers the same, 0 is the game. Okay, and then let's add these partial quotients. 10 plus 10 is 20. Okay, now we're going to do the numerator, 9 divided by 9. Well, 9 times 1 is 9. Numbers the same, 0 is the game. Oops. And our partial quotient is 1. Now we need to use our inverse operation to check our answer. Inverse means pretty much the opposite. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying. We multiply our divisor times our quotient. And then the opposite of subtracting, this last subtracting, is adding. So our inverse operation to check our answer is the divisor times the quotient plus the remainder. But since our remainder is 0 and the identity property of addition says it's going to stay the same when you add 0, we don't need to do it. Okay, and then over here we have our divisor times our quotient plus the remainder, same thing. 9 times 0 is 0, 9 times 2 is 18. That matches our dividend of 180, so that checks. Now what we end up with here actually is our identity property of multiplication. That says when you multiply by 1, it stays the same. That matches our dividend, so check. That means our denominator is definitely 20 and our numerator is definitely 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and fill in our data collection page. Okay, we're still in trimester 1, week 3. Today's date is 8/20/19, and our fraction is 1/20th. Now notice I wrote it way over there because we want to get down our decimal, which is 5/100, and our percent. We have completed 5% of the school year, and we have 95% of the year to go. Okay, let's go ahead and get out our number line. We did groups of 9. Groups of 9. So go to the first line, 1/20th. And here in our 3's we have an equivalent fraction. Just these pieces are smaller. And here 9 out of 180 is the same total amount, just smaller pieces. Those are equivalent fractions. This is our simplest form, or our equivalent fraction in lowest terms. There's not any lines below it, only above it. Okay, let's go ahead and put your number line away, erase your worksheet, and thank you for joining me.